Hey, Pastor Josh here. We're reading Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 through 22. We are now looking at the creation of Eve. Then the Lord God said, "It is not good that the man should be alone." There is a promise that you should claim, that it is not good for you not to be in community. So I do want to be careful here. We want to make sure that we apply this to not only the marriage relationship. Of course, that has to do with the marriage relationship, of course. Folks that are called by God to be married, it is not good for them to be alone. It is good for them to be in partnership with a spouse, with a husband, or with a wife. But I think we need to think about this in a communal aspect. We need to think of the entire community, because Adam was one person. He didn't have anybody he could go talk to. There was no other human beings that he could be with. And here in a moment, we're going to see that God parades before him all the different folks from the animal kingdom. It's going to be clear that he is alone. There's nobody like him. So this is a unique situation that only one human was actually in, and that was Adam. And so when the scriptures say it is not good that the man should be alone, we need to think about that. It's not good that the man or the person should be alone. We should not be in isolation. We need to make sure we're in community. So hopefully you see that applies to everybody. It doesn't just apply to the marriage relationship. It is not good for you to isolate yourself. It is very good for you to be in community, for you to be regularly talking on the phone with people that you know, texting back and forth, making sure that you're spending time visiting one another, going out to eat, and just spending time with people. And if we're honest too, we can be surrounded by a lot of people and still be alone. Building relationships requires vulnerability, requires you sharing things of yourself. It requires that of the other people. So it's not good for you to be alone, and you need to claim that promise. God does not intend for you to be alone, and He will provide people for you. He will provide friendships and community. So if you find yourself in a spot where you find yourself extremely lonely, look around at the people that you can be in relationship with, and begin to try to invest. Begin to try to spend some time, carve out some time to be with them, and trust that the Lord will truly give you those friends and those relationships that you need. God is always faithful to do that. Let's continue on. It says, I will make him a helper fit for him. And I have this here as an attitude that we need to change. Perhaps it's an attitude about this word, because there's been some folks that have even suggested that it might even be a more helpful translation to translate this as ally. Somebody that is going to come and not just be an assistant, as if Adam is necessarily going to dictate and tell Eve exactly what she should do, and that he, while we still would believe that the husband should be the spiritual leader of the home. That does not mean there's any dictatorial process. There's actually a great ally that the husband finds with the wife, and that the wife finds with the husband. And so that rather than calling our wives a helper, it would be wise to look at them as an ally, somebody that is going to help the husband get things done, somebody that's going to be so instrumental in accomplishing God's purposes that they should be called an ally. They are a partner. I will make him a helper fit for him. And if you don't think of your spouse as an ally, then you're going against what God intends for you to think about in your marriage. And you might be saying, well, Josh, you don't know my spouse. He is not an ally. She is definitely not an ally. They don't... That's not the right word to be called is enemy, and it's not a good thing at all. And there are some various things that you can do to work on that and to get to that aspect that you call them an ally. But at the end of the day, it's a choice that you make, that you believe that God gave you this person and that God has given them to you as an ally. So I definitely encourage you, if you are in marital marital spot, to reach out to me. And I'd be more than happy to attempt to help or even point you in directions for other people to help you with your situation. Your spouse needs to be considered as an ally. Verse 19, now out of the ground the Lord God had formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was his name. An example for us to follow. Here is Adam doing what he was created to do. He was created to rule over the earth. And so one of those ways that he was ruling over was by naming the creature. And that's why we don't get to name animals, and we don't get to give them their original name. We do continue this aspect of exercising dominion over the space and the place that God has created us. And we do that by organizing things into different piles of things to do, and this goes here, this goes there, and we take control over our environment. Don't let your environment take control of you. No. The house is under your control, and you have every power to bring order to it. Don't let your office take control of you. Don't look around my office. Don't let it take over you. You need to exert control over your office. Don't let your body and even your own decisions to put junk into your body, don't let that control you. You need to take control over your environment. We're called to do that, to take dominion over our space and everything that we're in charge of. And so that's an example that we need to follow, in that Adam went around calling, giving names to the creatures, taking dominion over the land. You need to take dominion over your space as well. The man gave names to all livestock, and to the birds of the heavens, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper fit for him. God paraded all of these animals in front of him, but that ally was not found in the animal kingdom. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon man. Here's something, a promise you need to claim, is that God caused this deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and while he slept, took one of his ribs, closed up its place with flesh. And the rib that the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and brought her to the man. God accomplished his work while Adam slept. So here is a word to you. Oftentimes, when we sense that something is wrong, when we understand that something needs to be fixed, we get anxious, we get worried, we get angry, we begin to put so much energy into solving that problem. And perhaps it is a problem that really does need to get solved. But oftentimes we spend so much time focusing on solving that problem, and then other places go awry. Other balls are dropped. Other problems pop up because you're focusing so much on this one thing. And so I think what we need to be wise about is to understand, first of all, that God will solve all problems in his time. There are some problems that won't be solved on this side of eternity, won't be solved until we are in the Lord's presence. But oftentimes, if you are anxious, angry, irritated about a problem, you will more than likely do more harm as you try to fix that problem. You need to let the Lord cause a deep sleep to fall upon you. You need to be calm. You need to be resting. You need to trust the Lord to work things out. Because really, if we're honest, the vast majority of things that happen to us are not caused by our own hand. Yes, we do things in obedience to the Lord, but there are so many other factors that solve the problems that oftentimes it's outside of our hands. So I really encourage you, if you're trying to solve a problem and you're just, you're all angry and you're anxious, you're worried about it, it's all you're thinking about, run, I encourage you, why don't you let the Lord just cause a deep sleep to fall upon you? Why don't you rest? Why don't you claim that promise that the Lord is working? If it's a legitimate problem that needs to be fixed, God is working behind the scenes. Trust him to do it. And then just be obedient to the clear commands of God. And when you do that, I think you're able to rest. You're obedient, doing the things you're supposed to do. You're even addressing the problem. You're even doing some things. But you're doing it without anxiety. You're doing it without anger. You're doing it without all kinds of gusto and everything in your mind. You're doing it in a trustful obedience, trusting God to bring a solution to that problem. And ultimately, that's what God did for Adam, right? Adam realized he didn't have anybody, and then God then formed Eve and presented her to him. Pray that's been a blessing to you all. I'll see you in the next video.